just the same way government takes their payment first. Notice when you get your paycheck, government, yeah, Uncle Truda takes off his piece first. Wow, how about you? How about you say, okay, Uncle Truda takes his piece. Well, how about we put it on the bill side and say, okay, that's for me, and spend what's left over? Because
I think you should have your own show.
ooh, Andrew, that sounds great. That sounds like a great idea. We should talk about that.
Like, subscribe, and share to Voices of Linden TV.
Welcome to another edition of the Let's Talk Show. I'm your host, Andrew James, and today I'm pleased to have with us in studio via Zoom, Miss Ingrid Clayton. Miss Clayton is a renowned author, an educator, a financial advisor, a real estate investor, and of course, a property manager. It's my pleasure to welcome this afternoon in studio, Miss Ingrid Clayton.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for this nice intro. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Miss Clayton, can we jump right into it? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? It seems like you're a woman of many hats. Through your own lens, what is Miss Clayton all about?
Oh, thank you, Andrew. So I've been an educator for about 26 years now. Actually, this September, it will actually be 26 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was in the classroom for 24 years, but now my role is a math coach. I work with the Toronto District School Board. But outside of that, of course, I'm an author. I wrote the book, Good Grades Rock, but A+ does not equal to success, financial success, that is. Why school should teach you financial literacy. Something I did because I feel like my kids weren't getting financial education to go out there into the real world to become financially successful. Now, outside of that, of course, I have a real estate business that I share with my husband where we buy single family homes and small multi-family homes, just to provide affordable homes for families who can't really afford a mortgage, right? We used to do rent to own, but of course, as the prices get, more and more, we find out we were selling the homes and then we didn't have the homes. It cost more money to get them. And so we kind of moved away from that. So now we just buy and hold and then we rent them, right? So I'm also a financial advisor, something that's spin-off, this is a spin-off from wanting to help my students, wanting them to become financially educated so that when they go to the university, they're not tricked into taking on credit card that they do not know how to use. So I became a financial advisor. And with that, I became licensed and I teach people, how to increase their cash flow, manage their debt, how to have proper protection in place to protect their greatest asset, which is themselves. A lot of times people think that their investment are their greatest asset, but no, that's actually themselves, their health, their knowledge and their health. That's their greatest asset because they're the ones who go out to earn income for themselves, right? Help them to understanding how money works and how to put money to work for them so they don't have to work for the rest of their lives, right? And how to help them build financial goals and also to have good credit scores, maintain good credit scores, how to help them to have wills and will preparation, and also funeral concierge, right? Because a lot of people, when it's time for funeral, nobody wants to be preparing for funeral, right? We just want to be grieving for our family members. And so with funeral concierge, we help people to prepare from before they die so that when they die, it becomes much easier for their family. So, the financial, everything that I help people with, I always say from the cradle to the grave, right? From the womb to the tomb, right? From the kids all the way to when it's time to transfer wealth to their loved ones. Yeah.
As a financial advisor, Ms. Clayton, how would you, what steps would you give to individuals to prepare to weather these? I mean, everyone is talking about recession. What advice would you give to, I guess, individuals to weather the recession wave that's upcoming, if I may?
Absolutely. Thanks for that question. I mean, there are multiple things. I can start with one. You know, a lot of people, a lot of their money goes towards their mortgage, and I always say, you can refinance your home to, you know, get a more affordable mortgage payment, and not refinance the traditional way that most people refinance their home by adding debt to their mortgage. You know, I'm not for that. When you refinance, you should not increase your mortgage balance. You should just reset the, so let's say you have a mortgage that started at 30 years, and let's say you pay down 8 years, so you're at 22. You can reset that amortization period to 30 years. What that does, it makes the payment lower, so your obligation is lower than what it would have been if it amortized over 30 years, and then that becomes more affordable. The other thing you can do, look at ways you can cut expenses, right? Sometimes we have these cables that we do not need. We have so many channels, we can't watch all of them. Cut out some of those, right? I say water is much more healthy than drink or pop, right? Sometimes we can definitely cut those from our shopping list, right? The other thing that we can do, sometimes we can take on, you know, extra few hours at work just to make a little bit more income. I always say, you know, working more, sometimes employee income is the most taxed income. So I'm not all for that in the, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I always say, learn how to make money work for you, right? Because usually when you're doing that, then you pay, you know, you pay less tax on that. However, in the interim to weather the storm, if you can take on a few extra hours, then why not? You know, if you can work your butt off to get a little bit more promotion to get a little more income, by all means do that. Have an emergency fund. I always say to people, emergency fund that's the key, right? I used to say have 3 months to 6 months of emergency funds. Now I say have 6 months to a whole year, right? Because you never know what will happen. And when you have that, you find that when, you know, in times like these where inflation is at a high and, you know, interest rate is at a high, you know, you have that cushion that you can use to weather some of the storm. The bills, the additional bills, you know, the extra gas, everything is so expensive now. And so just having that is peace of mind, right? And that allows you to, so let's say for instance, you even lost your job. Sometimes some work places cut back on hours, but at least you have that. And a side hustle. Everybody should have a business, right? Because when you have a business, these are ways you can save on taxes, right? And these are ways you can increase your cash flow, because increasing your cash flow will help you to come into more income where you can invest even more. I always say try to invest in hard assets, right? I invest in real estate because I believe that even with the recession, people need a place to live, and your rent will stay. And as long as you're cash flowing, rent keeps increasing. So even if, you know, they're predicting that the house price will go down, it doesn't matter, because guess what? You're not selling the house. You just have it. The rental income is paying on the mortgage, and you have your investment, right? And a little extra cash flow from that helps as well. It goes a long way. So those are some strategies that I believe people can use to help weather the recession storm. Those are some of the strategies that I'm using myself anyways, right? So
We're all struggling right now, I think. I like your analysis or your analogy there with spreading, or I guess in your terms, expanding your amortization to the maximum you can. What advice, I mean, as a real estate investor, what advice would you give to someone who recently bought a home? They're at their maximum amortization, which is, I don't know, whatever it is, 35 or 30 years or whatever it is. And they're experiencing a hard time paying their monthly mortgage.
but one of the things I always say to people, when you get a mortgage, always try to get a HELOC attached to it. So when you have a HELOC, the home equity line of credit, what that does, as you pay down the equity, that equity goes over to, so normally you have to have at least 20% equity with a bank, right? But the extra payments that you make that increase your equity, so your mortgage pay down goes down, it goes over on the HELOC here, right? And the HELOC will, the interest rate on HELOC is so much better than like your credit cards, because credit cards, your interest rate, you're looking at 15, 20, you know, and 15, 20 if your credit is good, because lots of time they're up to 30%, right? And so when you have a HELOC, as you pay your mortgage, it comes down, right? The beauty of having a HELOC as well is that you can actually use it to make mortgage prepayment to reduce your mortgage, right? And when you do that, right away, when you make a prepayment, it reduces your outstanding balance immediately, right? And so your amortization period is decreasing along with the interest that you're going to pay over time. So you end up saving a lot of money that way, right? And again, if you have credit, because a lot of times people have credit card debt, which is they're servicing those debt as well, right? The key is always try to keep your consumer debt low, right? And then that way you're not coming out of pocket to service debt unnecessarily. And those are, I call those bad debts, right? Mortgage debt, that's good debt, right? Credit card debt, bad debt. So try to move away from there. So even if you can get it in the interim, a regular line of credit, that will be good as well, because a regular line of credit, right? If you have a decent credit, you can get 8%, right? 6%, 8%, which is still better than credit cards. So if you take that credit card debt and put it over on a regular, even if it's not a home equity line of credit, regular line of credits are really easy, really cheaper, because it's simple interest, right? Compared to compound interest from a credit card. So you can save some money there from debt servicing by just having a regular line of credit.
Ms. Clayton, can you tell us about your book and where we can get a copy if possible?
So my book, Good Grades Rock, but A+ does not equal to financial success. You can access that. I actually have a website, because I do financial literacy blogs that I started doing that because I wanted to share with my past students so that they can learn, but of course adults on that as well. So it's got financialliteracyrocks.com. If you go there, there's a link to the Amazon that you can access the book. But if you just go to Amazon and type in Good Grades Rock, it pops up, right? And then you can purchase the book there. But definitely the website is great because blogs are there. I believe you should actually go there and check out some of the blogs, because they're really useful financial literacy, personal finance, strategies that you can use to impact, how you handle your money, how you manage your debt and stuff like that, even credit scores, which is really important when we want to get loans, that are affordable. So great website where you can learn a lot about finances.
financialliteracyrocks.com. As an educator, Ms. Clayton, how can financial literacy help students?
A whole lot. I'm going to tell you a story. I remember, my students, I always have a good relationship with my students. And so when they have reading week, they come back and they talk to me. When they're finished their program, they will come back and talk to me. And, in the heydays when things were great, the economy was better, they used to come back and say, hey, miss, I got a job. Some of them, Yahoo, Facebook, Google, engineers, regular engineers, the doctors will become doctors, the lawyers, and of course the dentists and nurses and so on. But I would say, if we cut out COVID, that's like 2 years, the past 5 years, I find that my kids were coming to complain that they're not getting the jobs that they desire, what they expected to get when they leave school. And they were in student loan debt. And they were in credit card debt, right? Some of them complained that the credit card camp out at the universities incentivize them to take it by giving them water bottles, giving them gift cards, right, and points, and say it's an emergency card. Well, you know what one of my students said to me, Miss, since I got that card, it's like every day I have an emergency, right? And they tell them they just need to pay the minimum payment, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a hoax, because you pay that minimum payment, Andrew, they will never pay off those bills, right? It's like they have this burden of loan around their neck for a very long time. And so if in school we teach them about how credit card, it's awesome, right? Because I would say credit card, that's the only place you can get money to use for 30 days free, no interest, right? But what a lot of people do not know is that is only if you carry a balance of 0, right? Because as long as you have a recurrent balance, there is no grace period. And so the key is to pay it off every month. If you can't afford it, do not use it, right? Because you're not going to get that grace period. If we teach kids these things in school, that would be very useful to them. The thing we want to teach them in school is the importance of paying themselves first. Just the same way government takes their payment first. Notice when you get your paycheck, government, Uncle Truda takes off his piece first. Wow. How about you? How about you say, okay, Uncle Truda takes his piece. Well, how about we put it on the blue side and say, okay, that's for me, and spend what's left over, because out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see it, you won't spend it. And that little amount, right? The power of compound interest, it will start growing, right? And that is having some money working for you, so that later on, when they need student loan, they probably wouldn't have to take as much, because it keeps growing. Sometimes when they get little gifts, right? I know even my own children, they get, monetary gifts. And I always say to them, you get $20, put away $10. You don't need it. Take the $10 and do whatever. But at least you have that $10 saving. And the saying, little by little, a little becomes a lot, right? You'll be surprised how that little bit amount can grow. I remember I said to my students, you can save $300, a month. And they're like, $300 a month, miss? No, there's no way. And I'm like, I see you going across the mall to buy bubble tea, and buy the McDonald's slushes and whatnot. You think you can save $10 a day? And they're like, yeah, I guess I can do $10 a day. And I say to them, well, how many days do we have in a month? They're like, well, 30 days. I'm like, okay, let's do the math. 30 times 10, what do we have there? And they're like, that's $300, miss. You're right. So I said, $300 a month, you put that away, right? At a moderate interest, you'll be surprised how much that grows. But by the time you get certain ages, you have like $500,000, which you didn't even do much. You just put it away, and compound interest does work for you. You teach kids these things the same way you teach them numeracy and literacy, right? You should be teaching them about money at the same time. And when that becomes a part of their psyche, they will grow with that mindset, right? And that will change the trajectory of some of our kids, because generational wealth, what we have in some ethnic group, generational wealth is not a thing, right? And because of that, they struggle from generation to generation. But if we can have the concept of building some wealth, right? So that we have some generational wealth to move on to the next generation, and then they keep doing the same thing, then the whole thing changes. Tremendous changes into how we move on. When it comes to managing our finances and financial success for everyone.
Very nice. Ms. Clayton, we're just punching up against time. Can you tell us a little bit about life insurance and why it's so important to get it at an earlier age compared to later on in life, please?
Thanks. Now, Andrew, I'm going to share this with you. I used to think that life insurance is when you die, right? Not until I remember when I wanted to. I wanted to become a successful real estate investor, and even then, I realized doing that I needed financial education. Even though I'm a math teacher for so many years and I knew numbers, I was great with numbers, but I didn't have financial education. Now, it was during this process I went on a self-directed journey to financially educate myself, right? And on this journey, I learned about life insurance and how you can use life insurance to build wealth, right? Something else I learned was that you are your greatest asset, right? You need to be protected, right? And life insurance and critical illness insurance, what you need, that's what you can use to protect yourself and your family, right? So God forbid anything happens to you, your family will be taken care of. You'll be taken care of if you're ill. And because you can get ill, you don't have to die, right? But you still need to live, and your family still need to live, right? And so you can use life insurance, permanent life insurance, to build wealth. Why? Because it has a cash value, right? And that cash value you can even borrow to pay for your kids' education. You can borrow it to start a side hustle, start a business. You can borrow down payment for a car for them, right? Pay for their wedding. Right? I hear people who they take out a loan to pay for their wedding. They're divorced and they're still debt. They're still wedding debt, right? And so if people learn how insurance can be used to build wealth, for example, Walt Disney, when he wanted to build Disneyland and he went to the bank, they never wanted him to. They didn't want to lend him anything. We're like, Disneyland, what is that? Amusement park? What is that's not going to make money. And look at Disneyland now. Millions of people go there every year, right? And we have, you have it in California, you have it in Florida, and you have it in China. So look at that. And what he did, he used the cash value from his life insurance policy. So when people know that this can be done and it is a way to build generation wealth, right? They will capitalize on it instead of thinking that insurance is a scam. Insurance is not a scam. You just have to buy the right one, right, to satisfy the needs that you have and to put in place what you want to achieve. So it's all about education, and that is why financial education is so important for everyone.
Ms. Clayton, I think we'll leave it there. On behalf of everyone at the Let's Talk Show, I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for being a part of the show. You have there with you a truckload of knowledge, and I look forward to talking to you in the future. I think you should have your own show.
Ooh, Andrew, that sounds great. That sounds like a great idea. We should talk about that.
Well, let's go off air and see if we can have a conversation. But on a serious note, I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your knowledge and sharing your time with us. A lot of people are struggling, and it's because they don't know any better. So thanks again. Take good care of yourself. Stay well, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.